A very good morning to Ms. Hidayah. So the first article will be measuring sustainability of takaful performance in Malaysia, which will be presented by me, Dhanesh Raj. So moving on to the slides. So first of all, I would like to talk about name of researchers. There are three researchers for this particular article, which is the first researcher is Nur Azia Ch. Arshad. She is a graduate from Islamic Business School and from UUM, which is University Utara Malaysia. The second researcher for this journal is Nur Afifa Abdul Halim. She is also a graduate from University Utara Malaysia and Othman Yip Abdullah Graduate School and Business. And the third researcher is Tubagus Tresna Irijanto. He is a researcher from Pasundas University, Bandung, Indonesia. So basically, the date of publish of this journal is on the year 2020. So which means it's a recent journal. As for the purpose of this research, this paper was conducted to assess the performance of takaful companies in Malaysia. So total of 15 takaful companies were picked and were used for this particular research paper. As for the problem, this paper needs to examine the factor that influences the performance for both local and foreign takaful companies in Malaysia. Takaful is now viewed as a business, especially with the growth rate of it. It's important to find the relationship between internal and external factors. So this paper was implementing two vital factors, such as the internal and external. As for the internal, it's liquidity, equity return, leverage, size of firm, and underwriting risk. As for the external factors, it's GDP, gross domestic product, and inflation rate from the takaful performance. So now moving into the literature review, which is sources are relevant to the studies. Findings are from takaful companies. As I said before, they were only focusing on 15 takaful companies to analyze their performance in terms of internal or external factors. So the review is broad. There was clear explanation and definition towards each factor. So as I said, there were multiple internal and external factors. Each of the factors were given a good explanation, and they were giving explanation towards the takaful performance individually for each factor. As for the recent references, the references in this research sits in a time frame of year 1995 till 2019. So most of the research references were journals as well, and the journals were conducted in several countries, and some of them were also from Malaysia, which was also about takaful performance in a different topic. So as for the evidence of bias, there was no evidence of bias because they were only focusing towards the takaful company. So I don't see any bias for this research paper. And now going to the design. As for the research method, this is a quantitative method which was used for this research paper, and it was obtaining secondary data. So the secondary data was obtained by looking at financial sheets of the 15 takaful companies which were selected. And as for the replica or original study, from my own perspective, I personally feel like this is a replica study from other research because, as I stated before, uh, this research topic was already done in other countries. So this is just a replica study based on our country. So as for the measurement tools, they were using ordinary least square, fixed effect model, and random effect model. So, so for this model, researchers can pull all the data and run an ordinary least square regression model. A fixed effect regression is an estimation technique employed in a panel data setting that allows one to control for time invariant technique. As for the random effect model, are used in a panel analysis of hierarchical or panel data. When one assumes no fixed effects, it allows for individual effects. So basically, the random effects model is a special case of the fixed effect model. So all three were implied in this research study. So as for the structure of procedure, panel data and tests were used to examine the relationship between variables. So speaking about variables, there are two types of variables in this research paper, which is independent and dependent variables. As for the independent variables, it was a mix of internal and external factors, such as liquidity, equity return, leverage, size of firm, underwriting risk, GDP, and information rate of this takaful performance. As for the dependent variable, it was only takaful performance. So was pilot study conducted in this research paper? Basically, a pilot study is one of the essential stages in a research project, which is very vital. So the process of testing the feasibility of the project proposal, recruitment of subjects, research tool, and data analysis was reported. So as for this research paper, a pilot study was conducted through obtaining data from data collection such as financial data from report of takaful companies and World Development Bank indicator. As for the performance of sampling, a panel data regression model was performed. So speaking about data analysis, um, the data was quantitative because it was not having questionnaires and surveys. It was solely only focusing on the information of journals and information such as financial reports from other companies. So as for the findings, it was supporting the hypotheses and purposes. So the hypothesis, the hypothesis for this research paper is there's a significant relationship between liquidity, equity return, underwriting risk, and GDP towards the performance of takaful companies in Malaysia. As for the weaknesses of this particular research study, I find there are no weaknesses discussed throughout the paper because they were solely only focusing on finding the exact factor which influences the takaful performance. So there were no weaknesses discussed. So last but not least, we are going to talk about conclusion and recommendation. As for the conclusion, uh, it was related to the original purpose. And speaking about the implication, it was only focused on the takaful performance. And to speak about effect of results, variable which influences the performance of takaful companies in Malaysia. So by using statistical data analysis, the finding shows that the variable which influences the performance of takaful performance in Malaysia. So this research focused on the 5 internal factors, which are liquidity, equity return, leverage, size of firm, and underwriting risk, which are controlled by 2 external factors such as gross domestic and product inflation. The results of this research reveal that liquidity, equity return, underwriting risk, and GDP are significant for the influences of takaful performance. So from the end of the research, we can see that 4 factors are contributing most for the takaful performance in Malaysia. And last but not least, as for the recommendation of the research paper, is the factors that contribute to the performance of takaful companies to ensure the sustainability of the industry and the country's economy. So basically, they were initiating a prescribed recommendation about to focus more on the factors which are boosting up the takaful performance in Malaysia. So I hope that's all from me. Thank you.